All right, all right. Here we are for another thrilling edition of From the Margins with my dear friend James Afont. Jimmy is an attorney here in Central Florida. He is an avid stamp collector. He is the Democratic establishment here in Central Florida, bar none, bar none. You have to listen to him. Jimmy, welcome back. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fine. How is everybody? It's been an interesting week. For those
No
of
doubt.
you that last week I said that the Iranian war would raise our gas prices, and you looked at me like I was crazy. I did not know what I was talking about. I checked last night; is averaging 375, and the week that last Thursday when I said it, the average was 309. That's an increase. And what's worse is what I'm going to say right now. It's going to get even more expensive because I don't see any plan of how to deal with this. And the truth of the matter is that uh, between that thing of Iran, 70% of the world petroleum goes through there. 70, not 10, not 20. I'm not saying that 70 comes from Iran. No, 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 no. But 70% of all oil from Russia and from Saudi Arabia and other countries like that comes through that stretch. So people be careful of this because we've already paid a price just to keep the Jeffrey Epstein out of the news because that's the only reason for the war. Donald Trump says, "Hey, I could create a distraction here." We're not going to talk about Epstein. We're not going to talk about the issue that there is a complaint of a young lady who said that at 13 years old, I raped her. Okay, we don't want to talk about that. We're going to talk about strictly and nothing more than what's that about Iran. We're going to talk about that until we go down and have nothing else to talk about. So yeah, that's it.
And so we're into what, the 12th, 13th day of this war with Iran, Jimmy. And one of the scandals is the bombing of the school site that was adjacent to a um, Republican Army base. Uh, However, as the administration deals with that, people are very concerned, of course, about the gas prices, the cost of oil. And now it seems like the administration is in a place that the perception is that there's no off ramp, there's no end game to this. And I'd like to get your thoughts on that.
That is correct. Most people, and let's go one step behind that. Most
Mhm.
people have not been properly explained why we're in Iran.
Okay.
Okay? Iran's not a threat to us. Let's stop pretending that it is. That they do things out there, yes, the Jewish people and the Arabs have been fighting for years. And even if you change the regime in Iran, this fight is among themselves is not necessarily going to go away. So yes, I'm not going to say that they are not a dictatorship. They are. Then, and not that they're capable of getting nuclear weapons, which we know they don't, because if they did, they would have already used them against us. So they don't have it. Uh, but if you want to go into that, so Russia is a threat, has nuclear weapons. North Korea has it. China, and even though it's not a threat, Israel has nuclear weapons. We never talk about that, but they have nuclear weapons. And recently, we know that Pakistan and India have nuclear weapons. So basically, trying to say that we don't want Iran to have them is is powerful, but it's not the real reason. But these wars keep going on, prices are going up. But what's worse and scares me is this: what they're you have to read the whole news. The U.S. intelligence agency had information that the school was there. But when they went to plan everything, they used 2 years ago intelligence, which they even said that they used old intelligence, even though they had current intelligence. Or, let me put it this way, if you don't have current and you're using something that's 2 years old, you might not be hitting the right targets and you hit a school with children, and that is unforgivable, because if you're not sure where you're shooting these things, you should not be shooting them. That's unacceptable. And I'm going to go a step that I always like to do in these cases. What if it was the reverse? And they decided to hit one of our military bases, and their intelligence of 2 years ago, that was the headquarters, and now is a school of children. How pissed off would this country be? So what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And I'm going to say this in a very respectful way. This is unacceptable. You are waste. Let's say it was a water plant, and you thought you were taking out something else because you were using all intelligence. You have wasted weapons. You have wasted time. You have wasted money, and that. And for a war that's costing us $1 billion a year, MAGA people realize this. This money is not going. It's going to be taken away from your highways. It's going to be taken away from every property thing that the government is supposed to do for you, because they are spending $1 billion a day in this war. And at this point, we spent $12 billion because it's been going on for 12 days. And it goes on another 12 days. That's another 12 billion. That's $24 billion. And trust me, you'll say, well, we have to defend ourselves. From what? This is the question of the week. People, did you really consider, prior to the United States invading Iran, that Iran would ever attack us, or that we would target from Iran? Because if he did, that would be the only justification for what we just did. And by the way, Mr. President, you do owe an apology for killing over 200 children. That's completely inexcusable. I mean, there is no way to say it, but you owe them an apology. I know you don't do that, but you do owe them an apology.
Jimmy, I was going through my X feed, Twitter feed, and I came across a post where a journalist asked an Iranian living in Iran right now, who is leaving, trying to cross the border into a neighboring country, and asked, why don't you stay and fight for your own government, fight for a new government? And the person said, I'm paraphrasing, that those who are in charge, the mullahs, they come from a mindset that any type of revolution against the regime, any pushback against the regime, any protest against the regime is against their religion. It's against their faith. And the Iranians stated that, that's why 40,000 people had their lives ended 2 days straight in 2 days, because they protested, because they publicly disagreed with the regime. And they believe that this defense of the regime is a method of getting to heaven. And so with that in mind, Jimmy, with a regime and the mindset of a regime like that, is there any success for the United States and Israel and its allies when you're facing a regime that believes that fighting is a ticket to heaven? Defending this regime is a ticket to heaven.
Well, you have to understand one thing that most people do not understand. There was 13 tribes originally, and one of them was the Muslims, and they broke away from the Israel. And since then, from biblical times, there's been a fight between them. There were the two faiths that believed in one God. One was Muhammad, and the other was Jehovah. Yeah, there's a fight, and there's going to continue to be a fight. But let's clarify. Prior to this regime, the regime was that of the Shah of Iran, who was put in place by the CIA in the 30s and basically was the king of there, and basically he offended their religion to ingrace himself with the West of the world, especially with the United States. He ingratiated himself by being critical of his religion, by trying to oppress his religion, and by trying to go against it. I'm going to say this: there's a lot of Christians who would like this country to be a strictly Christian faith, Christian governed, and governed by the principles of the Bible and not of the Constitution of the United States. Said that, there was a revolt in Iran, and let's not pretend that it was there was not. The people went to the street and they took out the Shah, and his own army went against him, and they decided to become a religious country and governed by the Quran and governed by the supreme leader. And by the way, they appointed a new one, and thousands and thousands and thousands of people are out the street to celebrate. What I've learned in politics is that there's one band who says one thing, like MAGA, but MAGA doesn't represent the United States of America. And then there's the other groups that are liberals, Democrats, which don't either represent America. It's both of us who are Americans. And Iran is the same. You have a lot of people who do not agree with the way the regime is governing. They still believe that the Quran should run the country. They just don't believe that the people who are running the country are doing it correctly. Okay, so yes. At the end of the day, most dictatorships, not only the one in Iran, killed their opposition. And that goes without saying. So, in fairness to everybody, yes, religion is a very strong thing. As a matter of fact, I had a professor in law, and when I was studying political science, says that people will die for three things: family, country, and faith. Those are the three strongest feelings of a human being. So when you tell me they're willing to die because they think they'll go to heaven, look, I'm going to say something that we tend to forget. You remember 9/11?
Oh, yes.
4 planes were hijacked.
Yes.
With the purpose of killing themselves.
Correct.
2 of them went into the towers. 1 went into the Pentagon. We tend to forget the one that went to get in the Pentagon and the one that was taken down in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Those are the 4. Those people got on those planes
Knowing
that they were going to kill themselves because of their faith. They felt that the United States had insulted their faith and that it was time for retribution. And by the way, that's something that we tend to forget. That was not for something that was done the week before or the month before or even the year before. It was done 9 years prior to what they were trying to redeem. So
that's right.
They have patience. So when people think, is Iran going to be able to do anything? Well, I wouldn't say it's away from the spectrum of possibilities because, yes, but they knew, and let's say this, the guy who was piloting the 2 tower jets, they flew into those jets, into those towers with an airplane full of gasoline, knowing they were going to die. And they had no hesitation in doing that. So yeah, faith is very, very strong.
Yes. Yes. It's amazing that we're at this point where we're spending nearly $1 billion a day bombing Iran, and for what 40 odd years, this regime has been in place. This regime has said that its intent is to defeat the great Satan, the United States, defeat Israel, and over time they accumulated the uranium to nearly build a bomb. If Trump is true to his word where he said that the regime must be eliminated, or at least the Ayatollah Khomeini Jr., for lack of a better word, I forgot his name. If the new Alatoya, the new regime leader is in place, it's unacceptable. Um, and if this Iranian who was interviewed by the reporter, um, if they're similar, if that's the thinking of other Iranians about why they're not moving to overthrow their oppressive regime, where do we go from here? I know I asked this, what's the end game? However, we can't be there forever. And do we just make sure that we eliminate whatever threat there is right now and just leave and just keep coming back as the Iranians continue to, you know, progress towards the material needed for a nuclear bomb? What, this is mind-boggling.
Look, the nuclear bomb is bullshit. It's an excuse to invade. It's been the excuse to invade since Netanyahu's been publishing this since the 80s, and we all know that. And yes, and we know they don't have it. But here's where it pisses me off the most. You talk about Donald Trump, his end game. He lied to us then and said, hey, we took out all the nuclear capabilities. We bombarded shit out of Iran. They have no nuclear capacity at this point. And that was his press conference. Not coming out of my mouth, was coming out of his. Now we're going back because they were trying to go back to it. Look, who broke the deal with them that they were complying with was you, Donald Trump. You said, hey, go in and do whatever you want with your Iranians. We're not going to work with you about this. That was you, 2017. Unilaterally, without Congress and without the consent of the Senate. You did it on your own. So at this point, I don't think even Donald Trump knows what the end plan is. But let's take our history. Let's not try to invent the wheel or try to say, oh, I think, or no. We were for 30 years, not 30 years, 20 years in Afghanistan. Thousands of our soldiers died. We pulled out, and the following day, not the week, not a month, the following day, the Taliban was in power again, and everything was back to the same thing. And for the record, for those of you who do not understand this because you're not that well educated, Taliban is also a religious Muslim government of terror that kills thousands of people, who oppresses thousands of people, and who their people in Afghanistan have never revolted against either. Okay? Let's not stop pretending that the only place it is like this is Iran. Saudi Arabia is a Muslim country governed by a king who does whatever he wants. Bahrain, and I could keep going up the host to say these are all dictatorships in which there are what you call religious police. If a woman is not wearing her things, they will arrest her, take her into jail, because they did that in Iran. I'm not saying but they do that in Saudi Arabia and every other place. As a matter of fact, the joke that we have is that in Sex with the City, they went to Saudi Arabia and they said, in this hotel, you could do these things, but don't walk out on the street because you will get stoned to death. Look, Iran is a bad country, but it's not the only one. So at this point, there is no end plan. If you go in there and you put a puppet government, it's going to disappear. Right now, people would like to think that Iraq is better. Not sure. It's not as bad as it used to be, but it's not as that great. And let's take the most recent bad example that I could give you all. We took out Maduro, but the government is still communist. It's still Chavista. Oh, yes, she's agreed to do some favors for us, but it's the same oppressive government. I'm sorry. Did we do a regime change there? No. Other people, is there freedom there? No. Do they have nuclear weapons? Hell no, they don't have nuclear weapons. Why did we take them out? Well, because that make Marco Rubio happy. Because Marco Rubio wants to be the president of Cuba. Seriously. Why? I have no idea. But yeah. And he's giving hope to, again, that maybe this time Cuba would be uncommunist, because I'm not sure if I would use the word free. But the concern I have is that there is no end plan. And really, I'm going to ask this question to you and to our audience. Can somebody explain to me why we're fighting Iran? How
Oil.
Oh, okay. Thank you. You gave the correct answer. Ding, 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 ding.
Hey, Jimmy, I'm going to be, very honest about it, and I'm going way back when we invaded Iraq. It was about oil, and I believe it goes even further than that. I see the world order chessboard being reset here, and Iran. There's no doubt that Iran was a sponsor of terror, a state sponsor of terror across the country, across the world. Yes, they funded the terrorist groups in Venezuela. There's public knowledge about Hezbollah, Hamas, ISIS camps in Venezuela and elsewhere.
Mhm.
Of course, they funded Hezbollah and Hamas in the Middle East. They have terrorized the world. They have caused damage to property and death, excuse me, to Americans and others around the world. That alone, I believe, warrant this action in Iran. Second was, of course, the um, Iranians' refusal to move towards ending their uranium enrichment program for
Well, that part is a lie. They were willing to negotiate, but they wanted something in exchange. And sending them two people that were anti-Iranian to negotiate was an insult to them. But yeah,
However, Jimmy, there were other countries like UAE were involved. Qatar was involved in those
yes,
conversations,
but
and
but
what they
but
wanted to
really,
do, what they
but you know
wanted to
what?
do was be able to enrich uranium past 20%, up to 60%. And once you get to 60%, you can move to 80%. That's weapons grade, uranium right there. No way. There's no way I would agree to that deal.
Okay, let me put it this way. This is the same bullshit that we had a couple of years ago. We went into Iraq because they had weapons of mass
Destruction.
destruction,
Hmm.
which they never had.
Never.
We're going to Iraq because after we were told by our president that he took them out,
Hmm.
okay, that they didn't have the capability. Now we're going back because they won't agree to these terms. Look, there were negotiations, okay, and there was no way that during this negotiation they would get to 20 to 60 in a week. That doesn't happen that fast. So that's another bullshit that they sold to us. But this is the problem. The only two people he was listening to was his son-in-law and to Netanyahu.
That's correct.
Netanyahu said, "I'm going in."
That's
And the first thing he told us, I didn't want Israel was to go in. I didn't want them to go in first. I had to go in first. That's what he said. I'm not.
Yeah.
So the truth of the matter is that realistically, this has never been about nuclear weapons. If they had them, they have already used them. If they had the capability, we will be dead. They don't have them. But that's something that Netanyahu has been saying since '88 with no real evidence. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is the same intelligence that killed 200 girls because it was all intelligence. So I'm not sure how good and reliable it is. But I can say one thing. This is how hypocritical our government is. Biggest tragedy was not with the nuclear weapons in this country. It was 9/11. They used our own jets. American Airlines. I don't know why they picked American, but they picked American Airlines. All 4 planes were from American. They studied here. They lived here for 2 years. And everything, they bought stuff here. And I have one question. There was one country that financed them. Which was the country?
That country was Saudi Arabia.
And what retribution has Saudi Arabia have for what they did to us in 9/11?
None. We're business partners.
Which was the first country that Donald Trump visited when he became president a second time?
Saudi Arabia.
I'm not, Saudi Arabia has financed some bad people too, okay?
That's true.
Nobody better than, we have never shot them. We have never done anything to them. We kissed their rings, and we're very happy with them. We sell weapons to them, which is the strangest thing. You killed my citizens, and I'm selling weapons to you. But okay. I'm not trying to defend one, but stop being hypocritical. Saudi Arabia financed 9/11. We all know that. The person that was killed under Obama was a citizen of Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
Okay.
Osama bin Laden.
Okay. Because we like to talk about, this and that. He was a citizen of Saudi Arabia. The money came from Saudi Arabia. All the people who died, none of them were a citizen of Iran.
Mm-hmm.
None of them were a citizen of Iraq. None of the money came from Iran or Iraq. It came from Saudi Arabia. I just have one question. People, do you think that the threats of Iran, who's never really attacked U.S. soil, we don't have any record of that, of them attacking U.S., that they have a fight with Israel? Yes, I'll accept that. That is wrong what they're doing? I'll accept that. Okay, but they killed 5,000 of our citizens, and Saudi Arabia to this day has paid zero price for that. That's where I have a difficulty with sometimes the way we do things. Look, we went to Iraq because of 9/11. Iraq had nothing to do with 9/11. We know that. Then the second excuse, they have weapons of mass destruction. They never found them. Okay, they never found them. Never found them. Okay, we went into Afghanistan because Afghanistan was where Ben Laden was. We were there 20 years. We found Ben Laden. We killed Ben Laden, and we still were in Afghanistan.
Yes, right. We're still there.
Okay, so people, I'm going to say this in a very respectful way. Don't trust your government. I'm going to say this very clearly. Your government, Donald Trump, Marco Rubio, J.D. Vance, Secretary of Commerce, and all of them are the elites, the globalists that are lying to you, criticizing others for being what they are. These people do not care about you. They care about their pockets. They don't care about you. They care about their reputation. They don't care about you. They care about how they control the world and how they show their muscle. Look, we do not need any more wars. It's affecting our pocketbook, and it's not protecting our safety. For how long you U.S. citizens are going to be willing to pay $4 and $4.50 a gallon of gas simply because Donald Trump has a piece of wood up his ass and he wants to attack Iran with no justification and no fear? Other than, yes, they could. And we've been hearing that since the 80s. We entered into a treaty with them. They stopped producing it because that's well documented. And then they say, well, fuck you. We don't care. We're going to break the treaty. So basically, with all due respect, Iran was not obligated. It was free to do whatever they wanted. Okay. And they did what they wanted. Okay. We know they were going to do what they wanted. And then all of a sudden, now we spent $1.5 billion bombarding Iran. And our president said, hey, they don't have any more nuclear capabilities. Oh, whoop, wait a minute. Israel wants to attack them, so we're going to attack them with them. Look, there is no second weapons of mass destruction. That is a lie. And that is what really bothers me. If they had nuclear capability, you and I might not be talking because we're in Florida.
Yes, very true. Jimmy, how do the Democrats, as we inch closer and closer to the November midterm elections, how do the Democrats benefit from what's happening now?
Simple. It's all about the economy, stupid. Look, your electrical bill is going up because most plants use oil and they burn oil. Some still burn carbon, but most burn oil. So your electrical bill is going to go up. Your gas bill is already gone up. And because your gas bill is going to go up, is going up, the truck that brings the food to your supermarkets, gas prices are going up. So because the cost of transportation are going up, your cost for food is going to go up. The same is going to go up for your clothing. The same is going to go up for your other matters. Oh, I order through Amazon. Oh, the little trucks of Amazon. They're going to be paying more for gas. So Amazon's going to increase their prices. Timo's going to increase their prices. You have to understand that once the people start to realize that they're paying $4 a gallon, and that's the fault of Donald Trump, and there's no way they can blame Biden for that one, you're going to have a problem. When you could say, hey, he told you that day one he would fix the economy and your food prices would go down, and he was the greatest thing for the economy, and he has not fixed anything, bingo. When they come and say, hey, you know that the tariffs have hurt your pocket because you've been paying more? Yes. Look, Democrats, you have one easy campaign. Put in your hands in a silver platter by Donald Trump, your campaign manager. He says that affordability is a myth. Tell that to the American people who are paying more for their gas, who are paying more for their food, who are paying more for their clothing, who are paying more for everything. And that is how you win an election. It's all about affordability. Period. There's nothing else.
And there it is, Democrats. You have one job to do. One job, according to Jimmy.
Stick to it. And, you might want to say, look, stop believing when they call us the elitists, they are the elitists. They are the globalists. They are the ones who are billionaires and millionaires trying to say, oh, no, we're one of you. Bullshit. You're not.
Well, Jimmy, as we move forward and bring it closer to home, the Florida legislature is ending it's ending the regular legislative session. There's no budget presented yet. So we're looking at a possible extension. More likely, we will see an extension of the legislative session. Is there something that we should be looking closer to or looking for?
Well,
Besides,
let's get the rules correctly. If there's an extension, it will be limited to the budget. It's not that they would have an open to discuss everything. The other thing we have not heard of, really, is redistricting. There's no budget, but there's no really a redistricting thing that is really going through. We know that's what went through is that we cannot celebrate any things in the state based on sex, gender, or race. So basically, there's going to be no more St. Patrick Day thing funded by the government because that's Irish is a race. This month is the month of March. I mean of March, which is the month of the woman. We cannot celebrate that because women is a sex. We cannot do it either by any other nationality or stuff like that. So the Puerto Rican Day in Tallahassee, I'm not sure if that's going to go again next year. I know that we cannot celebrate Black History Month because that's race. We cannot celebrate a lot of other things in this. That one passed, but the redistricting has not. And that is one that is not being discussed openly because if the redistricting does not pass in Florida, as it passed in California, then Mr. Washington might owe me $20 because his hopes were based on Florida screwing everybody. But am I correct to say that there's no redistricting coming down the pipes really right now?
You know something? I'm planning for the April Florida redistricting special committee to meet. I haven't heard anything different. I need to check, my sources. And I'm also preparing for the Supreme Court of the United States to, I guess, rule against, have a decision against Section 2 of the Voting Rights Amendment. Or the Voting Rights Act. So I think we're going to see advisory boards meet again to redistrict the Orange County districts, newly formed.
Yes and no, because I have not seen a project that has any backing in the House and Senate.
Oh, really? So there have been some maps that have been created by independent sources that have floated.
They don't come from the House or the Senate. These
That's
are
true.
What a lot of people would like to see happen, but right now you have an internal fight in the Republican Party. That's why we don't have a budget. Okay, that's why, and we're not close. And by the way, there's other things that are priorities to them that come before the redistricting. Have you heard anything about the property taxes?
No, all of a sudden they haven't taken the priority. I know there's one proposal that is sitting in the Senate that has gotten some legs to it. However, Jimmy,
there's none in the House, and the Senate is not re-voted. When does this session end? At the end of this month. Okay, today, for the record, for those of you who might not know this, but today is the 12th of this month, and it's a Thursday. And for the record, Fridays, they come back home, so they might go back Monday on the 16th, and that will leave them for 15 days to deal with the property taxes, to deal with redistricting, and to deal with the budget. That's a little bit too much for the legislator right now to deal with. Now, technically, the governor could bring them back on a special session, asking them to deal with the budget and with the redistricting and with the property taxes, redistricting, and there's something else. Okay. That doesn't mean that we resolve it. And that's the whole problem. I don't see them doing redistricting, budget, and anything else in a special session. That's too much.
Right. And Jimmy, I looked it up and as of right now, the Florida property tax law that we're talking about is focused on a major proposed constitutional amendment, HJR 203, to phase out non-school taxes on homesteaded properties over 10 years, starting in 2027. Existing laws include a 50,000 homestead exemption, a 3% annual assessment cap, and exemptions for seniors, veterans, and disabled residents. Again, the House passed a bill aiming to eliminate non-school property taxes on primary residences. If this is approved, this particular bill by the Senate and voters in 2026, it would begin in 2027. So this moved past the House. It's in the Senate. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, but is there anything for? There's nothing for the budget, and there's no project that is passed in the House or the Senate for redistricting.
Correct. Oh well.
And
Republicans, Republicans.
And by the way, you have to understand one thing that's interesting about this constitutional amendment. Because of the pigs in the state, it has to pass by 60%.
That's right. And that's not an easy task. As the folks who had the constitutional amendment for access to abortion, the same folks who had the constitutional amendment in 2024 regarding medicinal marijuana.
No. It was recreational. We already have them.
Recreational. Thank you. I'm sorry. Recreational marijuana.
And they both got in the high 50s for the record.
That's correct. That's correct.
And they fell. So I would not be surprised that this constitutional amendment gets a 58 and it goes down.
Wow. So, that's unfortunate.
And what's even most unfortunate is that for redistricting, they don't have to do a constitutional amendment. They can just do whatever they want. But right now, if you go into the calendar of the House, and I checked it last week, there is no project coming out of committee for redistricting.
Uh-oh. So calling a special session for the committee, that's different from something coming out of a committee regarding redistricting.
You have to have public hearings. It's assigned to one or two committees. Those committees then vote on it, recommend it to go to the floor. Then it goes to the floor. Then it's taken up for a vote, and there it, is voted up and down. That process is not completed. But the one that really, really is, this is the second time, not the first. This is the second year that we have problems with our budget.
Right. We've had to go into extra time.
And
Jimmy,
and that's the most important thing for them.
Jimmy, also on Twitter, X, I read a statement by Senator Joe Gruters, who said he needed to recluse himself from the committee that Governor DeSantis created to address redistricting of our congressional districts, because he is the RNC chair, if I remember correctly. And so he had to recluse himself. So I guess the committee is still there. Our friends, Representative Bruce Anton and Representative Joanna Lopez have been identified to be on that committee also. So, based on what Grutter said today, that committee still exists.
Yeah, it exists.
Yeah. Whether they do something, that's a different story.
That's a different thing. Yeah.
Right. Jimmy, before we get
that the Secretary of Homeland Security is the Secretary of Homeland Security until the end of this month, which I never understood that one, because when you fire somebody, you get rid of them real quick.
Right.
That.
Exactly. Now she is the commander of S.H.I.E.L.D. like
Marvel. Whoa. Which one of the she's going to be Gus Fury. She needs to get her eye patch on there.
Oh, mercy. Jimmy, before we get to the comments from our previous episode, I just want to touch on the unanimously passed resolution by the Orange County Commission to let me just get to it. Um, they supported a resolution opposing the use of warehouses for immigration and customs enforcement (ICE) detention facilities in the county. All the commissioners, along with Mayor Demings, voted in favor of this principal stand. What's your thoughts on that, Jimmy?
Well, look, this is my thought. Right now, we know that the state of Florida has been left with Alcatraz. Now it's our problem because ICE abandoned it because of a court order. I understand. I'm not going to say they abandoned it, and this is that. These and this is the way it's kind of interesting the way it was also presented. These are warehouses. They were approved to be warehouses. They were approved to stock materials, not for hotels, not for jails. As a matter of fact, the permits do mention, if you want to be clear, the permits mention that no one will reside there. And by under the Orange County uh, permits, people cannot live in warehouses. Okay, so they're not residentially entitled. So they say, hey, we're going to take something that was meant to store materials or to store food or to store clothing. We're going to make it into a prison because of detention. You can call it detention, and there's a prison. Yeah, people behind bars, it's a prison. Okay, and if they're not free to go, it's a prison. So when people, what they were saying, hey, you cannot use warehouses as detention centers. That is the correct interpretation of our current regulations and permits for Orange County. And that's the where one place where they can say, hey, no, we're not going to change that uh, zoning. We're not going to change the purpose of for what this was authorized. So no, you cannot use it at that. And I think, and I have to give credit to the people who came up with this because it's really a way to block ICE from using something that in 2 or 3 years, when this goes out of flavor, is going to be a problem. Right now, we're seeing in a lot of places, including Alligator Alcatraz, now the state of Florida is up footing the bill, and that's going to be expensive. But nobody in the state of Florida is discussing that because that's something that we don't want. The state of Florida is spending millions of dollars to support that. So basically, they're saying, hey, that's not what it was authorized for. So we're not going to change the use of it. So no, go find yourself some other place.
Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you. Let's get to the comments. Boy, do we have
Okay.
some comments. And I just want to say, I looked at Facebook, Jimmy, and you knocked it out of the park with the last episode.
Oh, okay, good.
One 1,334 views on Facebook.
Good.
That's huge. That's huge. And as I was looking at the numbers, looks like Facebook, you got yourself a really good audience there. Nearly 1,000 views on the shorts that we publish, and of course, 1,300 views of the last episode. So congratulations, Jimmy. And since we are talking about Facebook, let's get to some of their comments. And let's see. There were three comments in related to the short content. Did the Iran strike make America safer? A straight answer. And from Jeff Gibson, he says, bullshit. 44 missiles fired at an aircraft carrier got our response. Time to start looking for white flags. Okay. Dick McClard said, this video, this whole video is BS from start to finish. I guess he watched the whole content, the long form content. Iran just proved that it could strike 12 other countries and disrupt energy supplies affecting the globe. Iran was then going to build longer range missiles and deadlier warheads to fulfill its promise to destroy the West. And this kind of disrespectful dick, this dumbass, whoever he is, thinks our efforts were not needed. Okay, Dick, that's real intelligent. And then Michael Heinen says 9/11, really? So those are the comments from Facebook in regards to, did the Iran strike make America safer? Your thoughts?
It's kind of interesting because I never really answered the question. They criticize me for being who I am, and that's fine. I accept it. I've always been very proud of who I am. And for those of you who call me an asshole, thank you. It takes one to know one. But
There you go.
I said that basically, look, I'm going to say this because you want to talk about missiles of long range. Right now, we've allowed them, and they still don't have in North Korea. The only countries that really have those really cables: U.S., Russia, China, Israel, Pakistan, and India. If they had them, they would have already used them against us. The only reason they attacked the other 12 countries is because those other 12 countries cooperated with us in the invasion, and that was in retarded. But you want to know something really more interesting? The U.S. used all its intercept missiles to protect Israel, but it did not use it to protect the other countries that received them. They realized, according to the intelligence given to them by Russia, which we don't want to say, by Russia, said, hey, these people, you could attack them. They have no protection. That's why the Americans that died, the 4 Americans that died on that base, it's kind of interesting. If you throw a missile to Israel, the intercepts take them out. But if you throw a missile to where there's a U.S. base with U.S. soldiers, no intercepts are used. So, yeah. The truth of the matter is, did it make us safer? And the answer to that is no.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that taking them out, their nuclear power, enrichment thing was, we were told that they took it out. And right now, if they had it, they would be using it. So, no, it did make us safer. But thank you. Dick, have a great day.
Let's go to YouTube. And we had a response to the complete episode, Gas Lines and Government Waste. This person, Jojo Hana. There we go. Jojo Hana, 4455, stated he lost all credibility with the 9/11 explanation. Bye. See, I don't understand why people miss that point, Jimmy, because she did make an analogy to 9/11 in that particular episode and in what's happening in the Middle East right now.
Well, yes. And what I was trying to say to everybody, if you think that everything is just going to be calm and hunky-dory and that there's going to be no retaliation, please remember that 9/11 was a retaliation. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
And you could try to say that I lost you, but maybe I lost you because you don't remember it or you thought of it in different terms. And it was said when they did it, this isn't retaliation for what you did, this, and this. So, yes. What I'm trying to say, could they? And taking a proper perspective, what can we expect? We can expect a retaliation, just like what happened in 9/11. So if you think that there's no connection, no, I would agree. The Saudi Arabians will not attack us. If that's your concern, you're right. They won't. Could it be some other country? Never know. Could it be Iranians outside of here? If they finance Hamas, Hezbollah, and other things, could they finance a group of people to do something to us? Yeah, they could, and they would.
Another comment, Jimmy, from Brenda A. Turner, 7364. This is in response to your comments about the unqualified Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem. She states, none of the cabinet members have experience in their jobs, with the exception of Bondi, who was at least a real lawyer. And then we have a comment in regards to gas prices. And this is from Rick 3140. I can't believe the people of the United States are more concerned about gas prices. Then Trump has put the world so much closer to World War III. China is escalating its nuclear production and other countries as well. They claim that they need that deterrent for any future attacks like Trump is illegally doing. Trump keeps talking about the rule of law, and it's just bullshit to them. So that was the comment by Rick in regards to the gas prices and what Trump is actually doing. And then Brenda A. Turner's talked about the qualifications of the cabinet members, and Bondi is probably the only one, in her opinion, who is qualified because she's an attorney. Your thoughts on those two?
And she was Attorney General here in Florida. She was, even though they're two different jobs. I'm not going to say they're even close. But basically, of all of them, the one who's become more political is Pam Bondi. She has a picture of Donald Trump outside of the Department of Justice, which, if they had done that for Obama, the Republicans would be up in arms. But that's okay. Going back to the other comment, look, I agree. China is upscaling its production. Russia, North Korea, Pakistan, and India, since he's threatened both of those countries, and we know he told them what he was going to do to them. Israel has always been producing its. Yes, you're right. He's putting us in a position of a World War III. Most Americans don't think that way, and that's sad. Most Americans think it's about your pocket. And that's why I keep telling the Democrats, don't go into his wars. That's not going to help you get elected. But when you say before he went into Iran, your price of your gasoline was $2.99 a gallon, and now it's $4. You know where to blame it. Yeah, when you used to pay $2 for your butter, now you're paying $3 because of the cost of transportation. You know who to blame it on. Your cost of electricity has gone up $25. You know who to blame it. Look, it's sad to say, but Jim Carvell is right. It's all about the economy. That's what always has decided elections. As a matter of fact, Donald Trump got elected because most Americans thought he was better on the economy than Kamala Harris. Okay? That was the number one issue when people were asked, why did you vote for Donald Trump? It was not that he was a racist. It's not that he was a globalist no. It was most people thought he would be better on the economy. Well, they started to realize that they were wrong on that one because the economy is not better, it's worse. And as much as they still try to buy Biden for it, it's kind of interesting because he was the one who said, I'll fix it on day one. It was not anybody else. See, the best thing that you have, Democrats, that's why I keep telling you that Donald Trump is your campaign manager, is you could take his videos where he said these things. Yeah. And he did not deliver on them. Okay. Yes, they're going to say, well, he's not running for president. But yes, the Republicans are going to pay the price. When the president screws up, the whole party pays the price. That's a fact of life. So, yes, I would agree. What he's doing, World War III, where he's putting us in a position where we have no allies. Zero, zinch. Europe doesn't want anything to do with us. Canada doesn't want to be a state for 51 state, and it's really pissed off with us. Let's not talk about South and Central America. They want nothing to do with us. And Africa, no. As a matter of fact, I don't even know what country we could consider is friendly to us other than Israel right now. I can't think of anyone, but maybe that should be another question you might want to ask. Which country other than Israel is friendly with us today?
Before we close out our comments, one last comment from TikTok, and this comes from STE2332, and it's in regards to, again, Christine Nome, and this person states, most of Biden's top appointments had no experience. Interesting. Someone went back in their history book.
I'm trying to think which ones you're talking about, because his attorney general was a vastly experienced person. His secretary of state, Blair, is very experienced, more than Marco Rubio, to be blunt. I'm thinking, if you're talking about Pete Buttigieg, was not
Yeah.
experienced in transportation, yes, but with all due respect, he was a mayor of a city, and yes, that one I might permit it. I'm trying to think who else I would think was not qualified, but because even the guy,
The governor of Michigan, I forgot her name. She was Secretary of Energy,
yeah,
right?
if it's management wise, she's management. She had the experience, but
Yes,
other than that, she did not. And the problem that I have is that all of these positions that you're talking about,
right.
the biggest budget is in Homeland.
That's right.
As a
Yeah.
matter of fact, and you might have said they were inexperienced, and I accept that. Can you still answer me the $550 million? Because I do not know of any secretary under Obama, under Biden, who spent $250 million in publicity, riding a horse around town in North Dakota and talking about herself and how great this country is now, and how she was doing such a great job and all that. I don't remember any other secretary doing that. Plus, I don't know of no secretary that was spent $330 million to buy a plane for the secretary to use. And by the way, who came out with this scandal was not Jimmy O'Fahon. Part was Senator John Kennedy from the great state of Louisiana,
That's
a
correct.
Republican. Okay. So, what they did was they did not like her and they found a way to kill her in public. So, who killed her was the Republicans. So, I'm just telling you, she was not qualified for what she was doing. And by the way, for those of you who consider this administration a very religious administration, she was having an affair with a married man while she was a married woman. And by the way, when she was asked, her answer was, "Oh, you're going with these tabloids and comments." She never said, "Hey, that's a damn lie." She never denied it, which is the worst part. And I know why she didn't deny it, because she was under oath, and that would have been perjury.
That's
That's what I
correct.
get. So when people tell me, "Well, why didn't she just deny it, even if it wasn't true?" She was under oath,
Yeah.
and that is called perjury. And any member of Congress who could prove it could file the charges. And there was a lot.
That's right.
There's a lot of Democrats there who would not have not hesitated to do so. So yeah, it's an interesting thing.
Very true. Well, I want to thank our viewers and listeners. Please continue to engage us in those comments. We will try to get to all of them and read them during our episodes and get Jimmy to answer to them. And again, please, let's be respectful and tactful, because we are reading your comments and we
Yeah,
are
and we're
letting
reading
people
them
know who you
as
are.
you read, as you write them. So let's go with the screw ups of the week.
Indeed.
Okay, the screw up of the week of the Republican Party is a very simple thing. You have a job to do, ladies and gentlemen. You have a job to protect this country from everything. You have abandoned your responsibility as to declare wars, as to finance those wars, because the budget is controlled by you. You have abrogated your responsibility to do what you need to do. But most important, you have failed completely and totally and miserably to protect the United States of America from wasting its money. You have a Secretary of Homeland Security who wasted $550 million. You have a war that's costing us $1 billion a day with no plan of exit and no clear plan of how we're going to do it. Because we could bombard them until tomorrow comes out, but just like we would have never surrendered, neither should we expect our enemies to do so. And last but not least, you have a responsibility to speak out. Wars in foreign countries is what the Republican Party has always said that they're against. Yet you started the one in Iraq, you started the one in Afghanistan, you started the one in Iran. So, in fairness to you, that is your fuck up. You need to see how you bring this under control because things are going to get worse before they get better. Democrats, you're not exempt. You're not at all. You need to be addressing what I told you last week, which you're not. Hey, we froze Homeland Security budget because there's a large waste presented and proven by the Republican Party of $550 million. We need to sit down and discuss this budget. And once we discuss the budget of the Department of Homeland Security and we can reach an agreement of appropriate budget, then we can release it and go forward. Your grounds for this are there. Do it quickly because really TSA and other employees are suffering. By the way, strangely, the ICE people that you wanted to control, they're getting their paycheck. So basically, pound, 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 and pound on affordability. Your gas is going up, your food is going up, your clothing is going up, your airline tickets are going up, everything is going up. Pound on that. And with that, people, your enemy is not the federal employees. Your enemy is not other people. Your enemy are those who are in Washington, who call themselves Republicans, who criticize the elite when they're the elite, who criticize those globalists, who are taking us into wars around the world, and who will tell you that they're like you. The only thing is that they do not shop like you, they do not clothe like you, and they do not talk like you. With that, I will see you next week. Hopefully, I will be here and everything will be taken care of. Please subscribe, comment. I'll respond to your comments. I always promise to do that. And also, do me a favor. Like my comments or dislike it. Hey, that's the only way I'm going to learn. Now I learned today that I should have rephrased 9/11 a little bit differently. That's how I learned. With that, take care, and I will see you all next week.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Take care.
Take care now.
Okay. Bye. Oh, that's not it.